Tala, good afternoon to all of you. Both manufacturing and mechatronics, 2018 students. Today, 2nd March 2021. So we are going to learn something about sustainable consumption and production. Yes. So this is the background preparation for today lesson. So today lesson is something like giving you only awareness only. Okay, only some awareness. So this is a big factory really. This is a big factory. So here this end you can see big containers are here. Okay, the huge 40-footer containers. Even here I can see the most further left here. It has 2 containers. Seems like, yeah, 2 containers with this trailer connected. So that's how in huge manufacturing facilities. Is this a, no, this is a train it seems. Yeah, this is a train like it seems. This is a trailer with many compartments. Seems like this. Yes, and you can see the railroad. See railroads? Yeah, you can see the track it seems somehow. Even I have visited one factory, not 1, 2 factories, not here, but in Europe. They have the railroad connections. So whatever they produce, all load into containers connected to the railroad and then going throughout entire Europe. Even those who produce these goods, they don't know where these things are heading. So that's how even the railroads are connected. In Sri Lanka, railroads are connected only to maybe cement industry. And some maybe for the power plant in Noracholi, there may be railroad connection. And so for this petroleums, the refinery products to transport, there should be railroad connections. But generally in industries, we do not notice this railroad connectivity. But this is the case because this is very efficient mode of transport. Okay, so from this factory, dispatching, moving out, see, all outwards, no inwards, see, heading into the destinations maybe. So we call this dispatching. And from the factories, those are finished goods out from the factory. Okay, it's very interesting, and even with this picture, you should feel something, yeah, something that this is not one-day development. Minimum this factory come to this maturity level. If you think of 3-year cycles, this may be at least 10, 12 years old facility, possible. It's quite long. Yeah, minimum 9 to 10 years at least. Yeah. Feel about this. So this, in mass productions, whatever the finished goods, so the products they produce, they cannot keep it here, of course. It's for sales, or it's for the end users, those who are using this, the consumers. So this should be transported. But from the factory, it is dispatching, sending out. Okay, dispatching. Yeah. Quite interesting. Okay. So even for your generation. You all can realize this kind of things, of course, not in one day, but there is a possibility, okay? There is a possibility. This is another picture. Again, related to transport, this time it's not the containers or the trucks or the railroads, but see a cargo plane here. Even we can put the power sets, yeah, even solo trains. So this is transporting the transporters. Quite interesting, okay? Transporting the transporters. So this is quite interesting. There is a black, I put this, so let me, yes, bring this word to see you. So the supply, so this is kind of a supply. So this may be made in somewhere and then transporting or supplying this for service sector, for transportation. So here in the previous one, you see dispatching here. So here something like supplying the transportation. So keywords here, supplying. Quite interesting, the things happening in the world, but you have not noticed these things. This railroad, you can see engine, maybe 2 engines or 3 maybe. We can see. So this really a train connecting this container trailers so long. So these are running from country to country. Okay. Yeah. So this is another very effective mode of transport. Transporting goods long distances. Most of these goods are originated in factories and heading for destinations where the end users or consumers buy those things from that shops or from dealer at the dealers' points. So these are mostly finished goods for usage. And also there can be parts could be used in productions. Example, even in Singha, Sri Lanka, they produce refrigerator. Refrigerator has a lot of components. Let's say there is a component called compression. Sri Lanka, no compressor makers, so they have to buy it. So those are coming in containers, of course, from the sea, that one. But here, that kind of compressors, maybe in containers here running over the land. Not only that, even the copper tubes, or whatever components, thermostats, controllers, electronics, components. So component level things are importing or are buying from overseas. So those are coming in container forms, or smaller ones may be air freight in package forms. Okay, so this is the situation. Okay, yeah. So why in our country we didn't see this kind of things? Mainly 2 things. Our country population is smaller, okay, 22 million. And we are an island. Sri Lanka is an island, okay, no surface connectivities. So our production is mainly for the local usages, for 22 millions. And we are not that high spending country. And our market share in the world is not that much. So made in Sri Lanka products. Even you don't see Ceylon tea, very little, because only Dilma-like brands, Sri Lankan brands, are there in the world. Others, they buy tea, even tea, they buy in bulk and mix with other tea and sell as Ceylon tea. Okay, Ceylon tea, but that is not Sri Lanka tea. Okay, that's how. So our imports are very limited, tea like nature. So we don't have this goods manufacturing for the world. If we have goods manufacturing plants, we may have similar ones if we are going for exports. There was a time we had a great opportunity. Then one billionaire entrepreneur named Mr. Upali Vijayawardhan, he was one of the wealthiest and among the top 20. So he brought in manufacturing to Sri Lanka, automotive, electronics, and many industries in the pipeline. But somehow we lost him. Yeah. It's really an unfortunate situation for the country. Even he used his own private jet that time. That time, Singapore, Malaysia, all, they don't have such a businessman at that time, such an entrepreneur. He's a visionary, leading entrepreneur. So only they can do this kind of things. And we had another opportunity. That is in 70s, we have received lot of industries, metal industry plants, this Orwell and all metal industries. We have received cement industries. So this kind of industry, even the shipbuilding. So I think we have received those things somehow with the foreign collaborations, the true foreign collaborative projects, but those things did not flourish. With the privatization, all gone. Okay, so I won't say privatization bad, but with the privatization, what happens is they sold some machines. Even we had a very good fabric making plant in Tulhive. Yes, it is the biggest in Asia those days. So we were about to do exports. Yes, but lost everything. So Sri Lanka, we had opportunities, but our people, the so-called past politicians, they did terrible mistakes. And when you see these things in the other worlds, when we see what happened to us, we really feel this disappointment. So there is, now we should not keep this to ourselves, but our heart is really broken when we see our past, this ruining trends, what the politicians did for the namesake of privatization or selling the things. They never thought of development plans for the industries. And we are still suffering. Yes. So our industry is now tea-like things. Garments, we do exports. True. Garments. But garment is not high-tech industries. Also not heavy industries. Very light industries using some machines and multiplying the process, simple processes. But anyway, we have some exports, that's true. But we produce garments, but the fabrics come from outside. But we had a very giant fabric mill. I think several, all closed at this time. Once closed, difficult to pick up. So we are in a very difficult situation because we cannot start big industries. One reason is industries needs a market. So if you can have a very big industry, let's say, to supply a product to entire Asia, but if you have no market, you cannot produce. Produce and to keep where? And to capture the market, it takes time. Maybe 20 years, it will come to maturity in 20 years' time. That's why. So these are sad stories. But one thing for sure, whatever the industries we are competing in the world, industries in the sense of sometimes the services, at least we should take care of these things. Example, ports, we are improving ports, okay, container handling and all. Even people trying to sell those things to outside. So after selling, we didn't know what happened to this and all. So, but we have to take care of these things. Airports. Our airline services are really at low levels. There are big private airline services in this region. So we have to improve somehow. And we may have the hospitals, but hospitals, many hospitals means it is for a sick nation. Yes, hospitals are coming because it's a business. People take toxin foods and all, go to all the sickness, so they have to build the big hospitals. Kidney transplants, heart transplants, liver transplants and all. So we are in a wrong direction, you should aware this. So where is our immunity-based health? So our immunity is when you eat toxin vegetables, half-rotten ones. So yours and mine, the health is not good really. So it's a sick nation. That's why hospitals are coming out everywhere. So don't be proud about having hospitals. No such thing. But of course, we need medical facilities. That's true. That is mainly for the prevention and all. Yeah, so most cases we are in the wrong directions. Sad to say, but this is the situation. So when we see these factories, even physically I have visited such big factories, and I have noticed that even in our younger days, okay, our childhood time, they have a big factories, but now no more. Yes. Even we couldn't produce a three-wheeler, Yeah. So it is no point criticizing. We are also responsible for this because there are so many engineers, so many technologists, so many professionals. Somehow they were very silent, and these rotten politicians are on top of all the things, and they do all the dirty deals. And the professionals are really out of the scene. So somehow professionals also responsible for these cases. The selfish attitudes, okay, selfish attitudes, and the short-sighted professionals also responsible for this case. Now, even same way agriculture, we have big agriculture faculties and all, so many agriculture graduates. But agriculture, agriculture, our bottom line, see the vegetables you are taking, see the rice you are taking, see the price, see the quality, see the toxins there. So that is the bottom line, the ultimate result. It's so bad, leading to malnutrition. And finally, we need to have the big hospitals. Dairy industry, we are importing almost over 70% dairy requirements, even containing radioactive elements for preservation. Well, this is a quite funny country, but anyway, this is our country, so we have the right to criticize as well because we are contributing to the country. So learn these things and try to be different. Okay, that is what we have to be. That is what we have to be. It's not about doing politics, but doing right things for the society. So learn something good and be different. Okay, don't be like same of our time these full bunches of professionals. Yeah. So they are not doing good to the country really. Yes. Another one, you can say same. So products and some component level for manufacturing purposes, finished goods, double deckers running over there. So we won't say world should manufacture something more than what the citizens need, but we should be able to produce whatever we need, and we should be able to export whatever the region and the world needs in sustainable way. So anyway, so this is our situation, and this is the global situation, you can see. So we won't say that we need to be producers like this, not necessary, but at least we must have very good sustainable society, sustainable country, sustainable people, sustainable lives. That is very important. See, 2 tracks. Okay. Here you can see the mines. Here you can see the mines. Yes. Extract raw materials. See, trucks all may be filled with some precious material, either maybe for power generation, so maybe for raw material as to produce the goods. Yes, when the mines are used to get this earth valuable precious material for production, these mines, the deposits become reduced, and not today, maybe in centuries time down the line, down the timeline, there may be our future generation with no resources if we don't use these resources in sustainable way. Okay, that's why you can see how the world they are doing. Okay, even in Australia they use coal mines, but same times they have the nuclear power plants. That's how they balance it. Even US they have coal, UK they have coal, but they have power plants as well. So when it comes to energy, balancing of the resources is something worth. Yeah. So this may not be the coal, but this may be other types of materials. Yes, another from a processing plant or from a minefield. Or, yes, seems like raw material coming. See, so you should notice this. Transporting goods long distances, even raw materials, long distances. Here, maybe some loading of to these bowsers, some liquid. Generally, when we say this, what come to our mind is petroleum, petrol, diesel like things. But in chemical industries, mostly in Europe, mainly in Germany like countries, so their chemical industries are very, very strong. So they may have this kind of chemical stuffs transporting as raw material possible, or even can be some powder form ones. Yes. So this is how, when you see this scale of transportation of goods, raw materials, okay, goods and raw material. So you imagine the world, the level of production and consumption. That's why, so this is the time has come, not to come really, it's we are connected again. Yes, we are connected again. Yeah. So this pictures, of course, tells you some story. This is the other story. So all the pictures is about connecting consumption and production. Connecting consumption and production. You have seen the raw materials being transported. This could be raw material. This could be raw materials. This could be raw materials. Or maybe for energy sources. Raw material. These are for the industries for production. These are the goods, finished goods or component level finished products for manufacturing or for end users use or for consumption, for consumers. Which means of this train, one end is the factory. Okay? One end is the factory. So the other end should be the consumers. Of this train, so of this train, one end is the raw material end at the mines. The other end should be what? The factory. So raw materials from the mines and the sites reaching the factory. Then from the factory, the finished goods reaching the consumer end or the end user levels. So connecting consumption and production. This transports matter. Okay. So that's why, so some for bringing raw materials, some dispatching the products. Different modes. I didn't put the sea containers. There are thousands of containers running daily. Okay, sailing daily, tens of thousands of containers. Always in the seas. Okay, what's that? Connecting production and consumption. Consumption, because of the consumption, production is there. Because consumers need this, producers produce it. Yes. So if it is demand driven, that is good. But there can be other aspects as well. Okay. So this trains and all what you have seen here facilitate production to make or produce products at the manufacturer levels. Okay, facilitates production. This facilitates production. This facilitates production. This facilitates production. And some facilitates distribution to make available the products at consumers and end users level. So some facilitates distribution of finished goods, end users use, end user level. So two levels. when you connect consumption and production. So you think it is the transport, but it is not about the transport. Transport means there can be a driver, there can be a machine or equipment or trailer or train or whatever, or the operators bringing the goods. But this is more than transport. Transport is the vehicle used for it. But we call this supply chain. Okay, we call this supply chain because raw materials reaching the factories and then distributions to the dealers till it reach the consumers. So it's like a chain of events. Supply chain. Sometimes here for the garment industries, they may be importing raw material, let's say from China factory. So China, from the factory, the finished fabrics reaching here. One link here. Then after finishing here, making the garments, then maybe put into containers and sent by ships or air freight to the dealers there. Another link of this chain. And the dealers, and there may be warehouses. From the warehouses, the things are being supplied, maybe separate cartons or maybe containers. Another link. Okay. Then maybe end user comes there, buy and bring back home for usage to wear the garments. Another link. That is downstreams. Let's say further up in China, fabric making. Raw materials coming to that factory. From where? Maybe from the forests they use to produce some cotton. Yes, plantations. Some may be the polymer products, maybe coming from the chemical industries. Yes. Okay, chemical industries. For the chemical industries, those may be byproducts of chemical processing. And those chemicals, raw material, may be coming from elsewhere, maybe from the oil fields. You imagine, petroleum maybe, or maybe chemical processing facilities. So cotton may be from plantations. They maybe cut the forests and do this cotton tree plantations, maybe. Yes. Or maybe some synthetic chemical process. That is upward. And finally, that upward links to the environment because plants on the soil consumes water, sunlight, everything there. And sometimes maybe fertilizer. So it connected to this biological ecosystem. The other side, end users, maybe after using, disposal. Yes, after disposal, if it's being burned, emissions go to nature, back to biological ecosystems. You may be generating little energy out of that, thermal energy maybe. But the emissions, some heat losses go back to the environment. You see this connectivity. So who is going to look after the entire thing? Who has the ownership of this? That's why this is a chain of events connecting the supplying of raw material and even energy. So we don't know the origin, we have little sense. Destinations, we have little sense. But it is for sure there is an origin and there is a destination. End user's point. Yes. So there can be environmental concerns, a lot. If short supply raw material, we cannot produce. So there can be a lot of things to be managed. There are many things to be managed. That's why it is more than using a truck, plane, or a ship to transport things. It is more than that. That's why we call it supply chain. Okay, supply chain is costly. Who bear the cost? End user bear the cost. Because end user pay for the salaries indirectly for those who are working in the cotton fields in China. Understand? Yeah, it's like that. So underneath the supply chain, there is a financial, the dollar link is there. Also, there is an environmental linkage underneath the supply chain. Huge. Okay. So you should imagine those without. Okay, you should imagine those. Not to say imagine, but at least you have to have some little understanding of this. Yes, I believe you got the point. So that is one of the lessons today, to feel the supply chain. That is one thing. And to feel the magnificence of the industries in the world. And we are not even a fraction of a part of that. I don't know why. But some of our raw materials, maybe graphite from the mines, going for those high-tech usages. Maybe from the phosphate deposits, being shipped out for value additions, to use in other chemical derivations and all for fertilizers. So we are sending, but are we receiving back anything out of? No, never. Our purest quality raw material going as raw material. If we do value additions, just maybe if it comes to silica, your cell phones, all the chips, microchips, microelectronic components, the key raw material is the pure silica. Okay, Bhutana. Sri Lanka have the deposits. Sri Lanka have the deposits. But we are selling off this pure silica raw material. And only value addition maybe we do grind into powder form, fine powder form. That's it. Yeah. Of course, processing this to be used in high-tech industries, it's a challenge, but truly a challenge. But if we have such a source, why not we can have little industries here? Not to say little, but industries here. Then we have another challenge. Those high-tech industries, the funny thing is, it needs a lot of energy. Many thermal processes are there. because they are producing for the world needs enormous energy consumption. But our energy supply, let's say now, so if this dry weather continues, even we have short of energy supply, electricity supply for our day-to-day basic needs. So that's the situation. So whatever the situation here, if we need to have this, the world-class mega-level industries, it is essential to have nuclear power plants. Otherwise, pollution will be enormous. Nuclear, yes, it's a clean energy source, but we have to control, we have to manage the radiations. There are technologies to control those. Yes. Still, the more eco-friendly is the nuclear, because if we have no radiative emissions, then what's emitted is only the steam. Steam, no issues. Okay, that's why we have to have nuclear power plants to pump energy for the industries. That's why we have no infrastructure. Without having infrastructure, even energy solutions, expecting the industries to start something, that is quite funny, you know. That's why infrastructure is not only the roads, but energy solutions are very important. Energy solutions are extremely important. So we have to have a lot of this kind of approaches, but if we are not in that directions, we should outline what kind of industries or the service sector or agriculture we should focus. Somehow we must start from a right beginning. We have to start. We have to have a good start. We have not started yet. Okay, there should be a, how to say, there should be a well-planned, okay, well-planned startup. Beginning again. That is very important. Okay, so now you have realized somehow this supply chain. Okay, supply chain. Yeah, supply chain. So raw material issue we have discussed. So for some industries, ours would be the resources like raw material, graphite and silica ore for world-class manufacturing. So we are at the raw material end. Yes, manufacturing at another end, maybe in East Asia, let's say in Taiwan or Korea or Japan. So after that, finished products, then distributing for end users or maybe for other factories to produce the things, maybe produce the things, finished goods, so the final, the equipments, another destination. From there, they do the distribution, the dispatching and the delivery. So again, that's why the world is connected into supply chain. The entire world is connected. Two levels, one at the production level, manufacturers level, the other at the end users level. So these two levels are connected with the supply chain. Of course, one end for sure, raw material, it's connected with nature's reserves. The other end users after disposal, okay? Then again connected to nature, maybe you have to do the waste management, connects to the nature. Okay, that's right. So you can see this this cyclic nature somehow. Okay, so we have discussed about the circular economy. In previous sessions, we have to discuss it further, but today, this sustainable consumption and production. You have just felt that. You have just felt that how important the supply chain is. Okay, the supply chain is. So when you work on supply chain very well, this supply chain is converted into value chains. So later we will discuss that. Now we will look into supply chain. Here I put the title as supply chain management, but supply chain management is something like a big field, big area to study, because even there are courses, degree courses under the name of supply chain management. Okay, there are degree courses. So we are just recognizing this supply chain management. That's only what we are doing, supply chain management. So we realize that there is a supply chain, and based on our upfront, the knowledge we have gained after the discussion, we know that supply chain should be managed. We cannot simply let the supply chain access, no such thing. Managing supply chain is very, very important. That's why even in the business ecosystem, I think we have discussed about this maybe yesterday, a bit about this. Supply chain is part of that. So can you imagine how difficult to have this business ecosystem knowledge in your fingertips? Ecosystem knowledge. That's why that's a big challenge. So supply chain is part of that. See, supply chain management. So we talk about management now. Okay, supply chain management. Because we have to manage this. Includes all the processors involved in the production and distribution of a commodity. Consider the entire chain and all members. So this is just a definition, not to say definition, just a description only, but we start from the jungles or the cotton fields and maybe ending at the end users, at the disposer. So this is a huge one. So controlling entirety is a challenge, but this is the scope of supply chain. So it needs a lot of knowledge. Technology, environment, law, about systems, policies, regulations, about the inventories, other management aspects, finance, so many things. Yeah, that's why this needs a very comprehensive knowledge. But supply chain management, we have to transfer this to sustainable supply chain management. So that's why, because only sustainable supply chain management, or sustainably managing the supply chain, really help for sustainable production as well as sustainable consumption. So these are something, creating the costs or the tools to assure SCP. One of the key tools is supply chain management, managing it in sustainable way. We can talk like this, but to do this is quite challenging. Okay, doing this is quite challenging, but anyway, future when you go to industries, having this sense of sustainability, need of supply chain management, you can contribute even with little ideas because you are part of that chain somehow. You will be part of that chain. Because if you process raw material in a factory, because production means processing raw materials in some ways. So you are part of that supply chain one way. Okay? So you can do your part for sustainability. That's why it's mentioned that considering the entire chain and all members involved, yes, you will be part of that for sure. That's why your job, the duty is not just limited to watching a process or looking into productivity, not only that. So you should be aware that you are something more prominent there. Okay, so to have this awareness, you have to have this basic knowledge. Yeah, so I feel that having this subject, sustainable consumption and production, this is a world need. World need to have this knowledge for all the individuals, especially for the technology graduates. So you can feel the difference of this knowledge, how supportive this to deliver the other tasks in very qualitative way. Yeah. So when it comes to sustainable supply chain management, there is a key word here, facilitates. Means supports, help. Okay, yes, assists. So sustainable supply chain management assists, facilitates, supports sustainable consumption and production at the manufacturer's level, because you are working in the industries manufacturing sector, even mechatronics, you are supporting manufacturing and industries. So your involvement is at manufacturing level, true, but you know where your products and services are ending up. At the individual customer's level. So you have to connect both. Manufacturers, upstreams, and downstreams, still individuals. Even manufacturers, upstreams. Yes, maybe until this cotton fields in the jungles in China. We may not know, but there is a way you know. There is a way you can control that. If we are technically competent, even with raw material evaluation, we can say that, yes, the raw material or the plantations there is sustainable or not, you can evaluate it. Maybe an analysis to check the chemical or the toxin contents or whatever, to assure the organic nature and all. Even you can audit those places to see the living standards of the workers and all the environmental qualities, all you can audit. Actually, Europe, when the Europeans, they are coming to audit the factories in Asia. They're auditing even the operator levels, worker levels, living conditions, their working conditions, their salaries, all they are auditing. Why? Because it's a global, their responsibility to assure the sustainable supply chain. Yes, that's all. So European companies, they are going until that levels. That's why corporate level has world interests, as we have discussed yesterday, when it comes to environmental management systems and all. So supply chain is part of that. So even at your hand, how to promote green products and services. Choose green products and services in a sustainable fashion or in sustainable manner. So fashion means a style, but here the fashion refers to the greenness of your products and services. So green fashions. Even now the green Buddhist lifestyles also coming out in the world now. Green Buddhist styles, green fashions. It's coming out, yeah. Because now people are more towards this concern of sustainability. Yes, so the green is a word using for entirety of these sustainable aspects nowadays. Green is no more about environment. And it can be about environment, and environment is no more about the climate. It is the entirety. Quite interesting, Putana. Okay. So this figure I put here. So movements of goods and materials, starting from the point 1. See the plantations, you can see. Raw materials, natures. Then come to the suppliers. Suppliers, they receive some raw material. Okay. Supply for manufacturing. After that comes to distribution. Distribution. Then for the dealers, retail locations from where the consumers or the customer is buying it. So this customer, okay, this customer knowingly or unknowingly has a connection to this. Okay, knowingly or unknowingly, customer connects here. The customer is responsible. Yes. Imagine. So this is something like, it is not a cycle, but it has a beginning and ending. Okay, ending. So from beginning to end here, this flow of material, goods and energy oil by any means. Okay. So this is what reflects the supply chain. And we know that this should be managed. We feel that with this previously discussed knowledge. Okay. What if not managed? That is also a question we should look for answers. What if not managed? So anyway, has to be managed. That is very important. What if not managed? This supply chain management. Okay. If not managed very well in sustainable way. So many things. Customer will not get the products at right time. That is the terrible thing. Customer will not get the products at right time. Oh, if no, then product prices would go high. Same price in Sri Lanka case. We are not managing supply chain throughout the year. say once prices go high, very difficult for it to come down. Even the coconuts nowadays, coconut price didn't come down, rice prices didn't come down, even coming down not at that to the previous levels. So then customer lost the confidence of the consistent availability of the products, even the particular brands. Even now you can see this mung beans, the price is, I think 1 kilo is close to 1000 now. Earlier it is less than 400. So you can see that what happens to our productions. So customers would look for alternatives. Then then your products lose the market credibility and competitiveness. It happens, that's why. So the supply should be consistent. New competitors would come to market. So demand for the products would lose. When the demand is not there, your earnings are not. So same way, for less demand, you have to produce less. So manufacturing facility operations. So it has to run inconsistent outputs because delivery is not a consistent. So sometimes excessive warehouse facilities, if you do extra, so costlier to maintain, that is another case. Yes. So when you have the operational cost higher, product cost higher to manage with the same staff. Yes. Or else you may reduce staff, some cases, because your demand drops. Reduce manufacturing volumes, reduce raw materials, downsize manufacturing. Then what happens to the upstream, the cotton fields, the people are working? They will supply to others. So you will not get even a consistent raw material supply, and even would face the imminent downgrading or even the closure of the business due to loss making. That's why the supply chain management is very important. Okay. So you have to manage the supply chain. That is the first thing. And then you have to consistently, you have to improve the sustainability aspects of supply chain. You have to work on that. Example, some raw materials, if you are importing, maybe if you are buying it from faraway countries, maybe at least you can look into regional levels, but of course with consistent supplies. At least if you can have a facility here, if economically feasible, that's how the way we should go. We can provide more employments and all. Yes, in way, improving sustainability in supply chain is very important. So that's why, so awareness of this consider very important for you. At least you can remember these stories when you are on the job. So then you will look into something. At least you can remember these long trains you have seen. You have seen the big planes. Even the trains can go in. So this will be some memories for you to remember this. Okay. And here, nothing to memorize. If I believe you can understand this, even for local. If you are running a business, having a good knowledge is not enough. Yes, you have to have initiatives. Yes, initiatives very important. Yeah. Because many people, they know what to do. And even they know how to do, but they are not doing it. The initiatives are not there. When the initiatives are not there, losing of opportunities. If you value the future value, if you evaluate the future value, maybe you are losing the potential of having a gigantic business in the future. That's why. So if you do a business, do enterprise, of course you have to do, if you have this knowledge, you can start in very great styles. Easy funding, competency very high, only matters focus on sustainability and the sustenance of your industry. It is not about making money, but you will make money, you will make the profits. And running an enterprise is much more than that. So that is very important. So I believe, Utala, you are okay with this. So time is 2:49, 2:50. So today I plan to discuss with you this supply chain management only. So I would say this is done. And what I'm expecting from you out of this knowledge, okay, now you have 30 students here, very good. So out of this knowledge, what I'm expecting is a kind of maturity, okay, and a blend of, a mix of knowledge, not only pure technical, but having this kind of, it's a very qualitative knowledge for you to perform. Performing in the sense to contribute. Even in your business proposals, you can embed these features. Yeah. It is very nice because doing something enterprise, you know that it is more than making money. You know it. So you know that it's not making dollars and cents, but it is something like a huge task you are for performing. In return, you are getting something in solid. Of course, dollars and cents. Yeah, that's how. So yeah, try to become a boss really. Not later, but somehow soon. So this knowledge helps you because you know what to do. Probably you know better than the future CEOs maybe when it comes to the real footing of your work. So this seed, this interest, this is really good. This is more than a book knowledge. Yes. So even I worked in the industries for quite long, mainly in R&D. So we also worked on sustainability aspects sometimes. Even we had involvements with supply chain managements, but not with this solid knowledge, but in some decision making. Yes, we use some tips. Yeah. Okay, because it is very useful all the while. Yeah, very useful all the while. Yes. Also, I have one story to share with you, how the world is thinking really. So my last overseas, yes, career post is a senior position in R&D. Somehow this company, it's a German multinational company, they had a plan to go for an industry in India. They almost planned it. Okay. So I came to know this because I joined 2008 for that, mid 2008, and then I proposed that why not we set up this in Sri Lanka. I did a little proposal for this to start the same, and I mentioned the opportunities and all, and this went to the director board of this group director board. They have discussed this. Even they plan to make a visit before that. Plan to make a visit for Sri Lanka to evaluate. But in the director board, they have realized that establishing businesses in Sri Lanka. So some people are asking for commissions. They came to know that somehow. And it didn't move beyond that. Yes, we have lost the opportunities. So imagine corruptions leads to missing the opportunities, means really challenging the socio-economic, environmental, okay, the opportunities for developments, because those are great industries. Even that company originally support hire. Hire is originally hire is really a German industry formed in China under that. But finally hire went along. That's true, but anyway, that is okay. You can see that these great companies, they are not coming. So the corruptions, underhand dealings, those are really makes the economies going down. Yes. So that is my hands-on experience on this, even indirect, okay, challenging of unethical deals to harm the societal developments. Yeah, that's right. So that is not just one or a group making some undue financial advantage, but it is really harming the nations. That's why we are losing the opportunities. So we have heard one case, same one like earlier in this Hingurano, where the sugar industry. So we can see that people are really not loyal to the country, even though they are Sri Lankans. Because the loyal people, if they fancy, they will not go for that kind of corruptions, because corruptions, the high level corruptions, really bringing the countries down. And that's why. But we can see that, but the others, I don't know why they cannot see this. So you are our future generation, so you should aware this. You should aware this, because when it comes to the supply chains, even business startups and all, you may have involvements. So you should go with clean hands. That is very important. Okay, you should go with clean hands. Okay, Putta, that's all, and it's almost 3 o'clock, and today knowledge sharing is over. So think about this, okay? Think about this supply chain, the energy, the resources, the emissions, the environmental pollutions, then the overutilization and extraction of raw materials, oversupplying of goods, like dumping of goods, yes, and not thinking about the future generations, just thinking of today operations. Yeah, so you have to think about this. Now you have the potential to understand, okay, understand those, how this supply chain links totally to the sustainability. Yes. So this may be an assignment I will pass to you, because you know about this now. You know about sustainability aspects. So with your imaginations and with this knowledge of the existence of such supply chains and the knowledge of this necessity of man. So I believe that you can proceed with this knowledge. Okay, you can proceed with this awareness, mainly with awareness. So let me give you a little assignment afterward, not now, for you to work with. So today discussion I'm going to end now. Before that, any question? Any question, Putana? At least did you understand the gravity of this supply chain, the magnificence of this? Viraj, Putatirna Vikibudi. I hope you can understand. Yeah. Okay. So let me stop the class today since no questions. So see you next Tuesday, and we will explore more about this subject. So supply chain management awareness, I feel it's good enough for you. Thank you, Bhutana. So see you next week. Take care, all of you. Bye then.